Welcome into another exciting episode of The Scene. I'm your host, Bubba Startz, and with me today is CEO and co-founder of Endo DNA, Len May. Welcome to the show, Len.
Appreciate it, brother. Thank you.
We've already been talking off camera. This is going to be a thrilling conversation, but why don't you give us a little bit maybe of your own backstory and a little bit of the company as well? And then we're going to get into all this awesome stuff that you guys are doing for the world.
Yeah, I mean, my backstory is I was the kind of kid. I'm an immigrant, by the way. Came over to this country when I was like 6 years old. But I was a kid that would sit in class. Teacher would call me, and my mind would be elsewhere. It would be daydreaming. So, uh, you know, kind of became disruptive here and there. My parents started taking me to a doctor, and then I got diagnosed with ADHD. But no, not hyperactive, just kind of the dreamer type. And I was put on prescription medication. I can't say that the prescription medication didn't work if you're talking about just helping to focus, but it took away all my sense of self. So all the emotions that I had were sort of numb, and you go through the motions, but you're really lifeless. And I was hanging out with some older kids before class, and they asked me if I wanted to smoke a cigarette. I'm like, cool, I'll be one of the cool kids. I'll smoke a cigarette. Never asked them why they had only one. They passed around a cigarette, I took a drag of it, and it didn't taste like a cigarette to me. And they were laughing. And they put cannabis in it. So I went back to class, and all the windows are open. My head sort of narrowed, and that became my medicine of choice. My parents didn't really care for that too much, so at some point I was like 17. They ended up kicking me out, but actually calling the cops to have me arrested. The irony of this, my parents both take formulations my company has patents on now for their conditions. And yeah, I pursued like corporate America, did all that stuff, worked for Price Waterhouse, um, venture capital company. I was a commercial real estate broker, moved from Philadelphia, where I was from, to Los Angeles, got into the dispensary space, and I started seeing two people consume the same varietal and have a completely different experience. So I got into plant genetics. And from plant genetics, I got into human genetics and said, all right, well, we have plant genetics here, we have human genetics here. Let's bring those two together and guide people to a personalized experience. So we launched our company in 2017. That was our mission. But my bigger mission was to create the world's largest efficacy repository. So we started working with doctors and asking them why genetics are important. And a lot of doctors didn't really know. So, that's what we created Endo DNA for, is to create this platform that allows doctors to do a genome, interrogate the genome, create a personalized treatment plan, and then measure how well that treatment plan works based on a feedback loop. With AI, it learns much quicker and helps us to really get personalized healthcare instead of sick care.
See, I told you guys this was going to be awesome. Incredible. A little bit about me. Longtime cannabis user. I have a medical card now here in South Dakota. We have a medical program, thank goodness. So I can speak to a lot of the things that you do. I've been around the space for a long time. A lot of my friends work at dispensaries. A lot of friends. I was on the West Coast for a time in my early 20s around the state of Oregon. I was in California a little bit as well. So really got introduced to it and then moved back to South Dakota, and it was another decade until we had a medical program. Did a couple of years in prison for selling marijuana because I realized what this plant was and what it was not. And now here I am with a license to grow or smoke however much I want, and I just had to, donate 2 years of my life to the state of South Dakota.
Awful.
Yeah, well, you know what? It made me a better person, so I don't regret the time. My mother feels a little bit differently about it,
Yeah.
posthumously here, but love it. Love what you're doing. Just the full circle of kind of going from, a little bit of a bad kid, right? um, to the whole corporate world and living through that, and then finding yourself back in the cannabis world and really digging into I mean, humans have been tied with this plant, and we have these endocannabinoid receptors for a reason, right? It's crazy to think that this plant can't do something for you when the human body has evolved next to it, right?
Yeah.
Like it's crazy to me that we still have people that are kind of culturally conditioned to the stigmas, but that's maybe a conversation for another day, Len.
Well, I just don't think people understand the endocannabinoid system, and that's the biggest challenge: is they equate something with a plant that grows in nature, but doesn't really understand that we have a whole system that creates our own endogenous endocannabinoids. And when we have deficiencies in what we naturally produce, we're lucky that we have a plant in nature that we have, as you were just saying, that we have receptors for, and it can bind to those receptors and actually release more of our endogenous endocannabinoids, which helps us maintain balance and homeostasis. And it's like every single drug that is used as a ligand. We have a receptor for that drug, like even cocaine, which is odd because it's Schedule 2, where cannabis is a Schedule 1. But when you're consuming, cocaine, it binds to your, and we use it as medicine, binds to your dopamine receptors, squirts a bunch of dopamine into your bloodstream, blocks the reuptake of that dopamine, and then there's a reuptake in your brain. It's like, wait a second, I don't have to crave my own dopamine. I love dopamine. It's great. It's the most addictive substance that we have. Let me send a signal to get me more some of that exogenous dopamine ligand, which is cocaine. So we get on this habitual cycle. It doesn't work the same way with cannabis, and the ligand of getting that delta 9 THC to bind to your CB1 receptors, release more anandamide. That's great because it's our bliss molecule, right? It create when we run, when we work out, we get that bliss molecule. But the trick is very narrow therapeutic window. So finding the right dose, the right profile for you, that's the tricky part, and that's what we're there to help people figure out.
Just incredible. So Endo DNA is working, I'm assuming, mostly with doctors and physicians. Are I guess consumers, are people able to come to your company and to use these just to find out more about themselves rather than having to go through a physician to get there?
Yeah, we have a direct to consumer version, especially our endocannabinoid system test. So you can go to EndoDNA.com and purchase that. We have thousands of consumers have used our test, but the idea, we shifted to a B2B platform, and the reason why is because when we leave people alone, and this not necessarily has to do with cannabis per se, the endocannabinoid system, but look in the genome, uh, it has to be a collaborative experience with your healthcare professional. Your healthcare professional is not there to cure you. They're there to do no harm and to work in collaboration with you to find something that actually works for you, uh, with mitigating risk. So in looking at your genome, looking at your baseline biomarkers, creating a treatment plan with a feedback loop, it allows healthcare professionals to collaborate with you. So if you have a pain or some of that, and we're very conditioned in this country to be pain averse, you go to a doctor, they say, all right, well, I can give you a pill for that. I can give you an injection for that. Instead of saying, maybe there's a root cause of that pain. So we have to be more aware of that and say, we're not there, it's a signal. We're not there to turn the signal down. We're there to follow it and see what's causing that. So if you're collaborating with your healthcare professional, everything's transparent. Maybe you have a genetic predisposition to something that's based on your lifestyle choices, has been epigenetically turned on. So now what do we do together to turn that down? Your pain can be caused by cortisol release and inflammation into your bloodstream, where your immune system is overreacting to that. So instead of numbing the pain, let's follow it and find out what's really the root cause.
God, big pharma hates you, huh?
But big pharma should be using this anyway. They all look. We have genetics have been used for diagnostics for years. We have BRCA1, BRCA2, breast cancer genes. It's all collaboratively. The challenge, big pharma doesn't hate us per se. They just we're not covered by insurance. So we're not in the system. And when we're outside the system, they're looking at us and saying, they're not competing with us. It's a parallel path. We're not against big pharma if there's a medication. So I'll give you an example. We talk about cognitive health and wellness. I have a buddy of mine, very successful entrepreneur, and he had a business deal that didn't go well. Now, we did his genome, so I know there's a couple things. First of all, he's predisposed to depressive feelings. So he started getting depressed, and he ended up going to a psychopharmacologist and getting an antidepressant. Now, he doesn't live in California, but he was back in California. He was driving with his wife and his kid around the canyons. We have these these areas of canyons. And he said, I had an overwhelming desire to drive off the cliff. And he goes, it was so real. I had to pull over. I was scared. I pulled over. My wife came out and said, are you okay? He said, I'm not okay. I shouldn't have been driving, uh, which is great that he recognized that. And when he went back to the psychopharmacologist and he did something called a PGX test, which is pharmacogenomics, he saw that that drug that he was prescribed was red. It shouldn't be, he shouldn't have been consuming this drug in the first place. In addition to that, because we know this, he has treatment resistant depression. So that drug may not be efficacious for him anyway. It wouldn't have worked, but he would get the side effects. And the side effects, one of the big ones is suicidal thoughts. So this is where we need to collaborate with Big Pharma. We need to do everything together for the health and wellness of the people so they mitigate those risks and avoid those potholes that are in the road. But the way to know this is by doing your genome. You know what your personal GPS of life is, and you know which sharp corners to avoid.
Yeah, life is hard enough. We don't need a pill that's going to make us want to kill ourselves. That's just wild. And it seems like it's more and more of these pharmaceuticals go by and the lists of side effects get longer and the efficacy gets smaller and smaller and smaller because of what you're exposing here with endo DNA and getting to the root causes of these problems. It's just incredible work. I commend you so much for getting into it in the first place. I'm sure it's not an easy space to work in. Can you talk about some of the challenges that you guys have faced as a company, kind of moving through, obviously working in healthcare at all? There's bound to be hurdles to have to climb.
Well, I mean, the first hurdle is cannabis, the endocannabinoid system. So now that we're working, when we first started with the endocannabinoid system, I mean, marketing has been the biggest challenge. We're getting, flagged and on all the social media platforms and shadow ban, etc. We're not plant touching. We're telling you about a system that's in your body. But the way that all these platforms are set up, they're like, wait a second, endocannabinoid, cannabinoids. So let's flag that. So that's the first hurdle. The second hurdle is the stigma that's associated with that, as we just went over. The third one is the FDA. So when we met with the FDA, they asked us, what is the purpose of your test? And we said to help people either avoid or mitigate a possible adverse event. And they said, great, there's two things. You can't make any claims, which is fine. And you can't talk about a disease. So if I'm selling it directly to a consumer, for instance, I can't talk about Parkinson's, but I can talk about the tremors that are associated with Parkinson's. But since this is a platform for healthcare professionals as well, now they can use that as to help them with their diagnosis also. But we're classified what's called RUO, research use only. So it can be used in helping you to diagnose, but it's not necessarily a diagnostic test. And one of the reasons is because we have an endocannabinoid system test, the FDA will not approve, a 510K diagnostic device because there is a Schedule 1 substance that is associated with the testing that we do and has nothing to do with really what we do. And
Right.
the last hurdle of that is the understanding of DNA. I mean, you may be surprised that a lot of doctors don't understand genetics. They studied it in medical school at a class, but they don't really understand. So getting past that hurdle and making it easy for healthcare professionals to really understand and interrogate the genome and ask it questions and help them prescribe what they need to, that's the last part of it.
Sadly, I'm not surprised, Len. And I hope that a lot of this is going to change, obviously, with the growth of the Maha movement and what we're already seeing at Department of Health and Human Services. So things are changing, right? The culture is changing. The Everything is changing right now, and I hope it's for the better, especially for systems like you've developed here, and a great many other things that we really need to address as a human species if we expect to continue evolving and becoming the best versions of ourselves. We've been kind of working against, I feel like, pharma and these massive, billion trillion dollar companies have been in a different business altogether. They're not in healthcare, they're in sick care, I believe is the way that you phrased it. So what does the future of endo DNA look like for the next, couple of years?
I mean, the future is we have a patent on um, an AI patent. So we're implementing our machine learning algorithm that is going to allow you to have a full conversation with your genome and also to measure the efficacy of the protocols. So I'm looking down so I can get the right title of the patent. Well, the patent is machine learning based efficacy predictions based on genetic and biometric information. So we're building a platform that allows you to do your genome, interrogate your genome. So you can ask it, show me of all of Len's inflammatory markers, cross-reference them with how Len metabolizes. It'll give you a baseline biomarker, so blood draws, biological age, etc. Then it's going to give you a suggested protocol, a treatment plan. So the healthcare professional has that. So, like right now, our biggest selling test is female hormone health test, menopause biotype, which is very, underserved as a community in general. But so the treatment plan will say, okay, I recommend this supplementation, this hormone optimization, bioidentical hormones, and I recommend, transdermal patches. And the doctor can say, I like everything, but I'm going to modify the suggested treatment plan because I like pellets instead of transdermal patches. That's what we do in our office. So I'm going to modify that. Now, there's going to be a feedback loop. So, meaning how well patient reported outcome. In addition to that, is other biomarker changes and changes in your methylation, so that biological age. Now, if it's not efficacious, if that pellet's not working for you, then the treatment plan will be modified. But what if it's working better than the transdermal patches? Now the AI just learned. So the next person comes in and says, hey, there's 100 people similar to you that took this protocol and I showed that was efficacious. So it all goes back into building the world's largest repository in efficacy and helping us have this collaborative experience with our healthcare professionals.
Just incredible. I'm blown away by everything that you're saying. It probably should have been done 20, 30 years ago. I'm assuming the tech
Yeah.
is that old, right? And but now you're able to teach this AI that is getting more powerful every single day and to let it go to work and to really dig into this. Really amazing stuff, Len. I'm thrilled that you've been in this arena and been a champion for the endocannabinoid movement, right? Getting people in tune with this part of our bodies and our DNA, the building blocks of ours, and learning so much about this. And not just learning it to know it, but learning it so that we can help people. And I think that's just commendable at the very least.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. We're a science-based company. Everything is supported by peer-reviewed references of PubMed or equivalent to PubMed. It's always learning, and we have citations in PubMed. We're in a phase 2 clinical trial at Harvard. We have 6 clinical studies at Wayne State. We have 3 in Chelmsford, Montreal, and then we have one in the UK that we're starting. So we're all about doing it right and doing it scientifically. So I appreciate the platform that you're providing us, but everybody needs to know at least what their genome looks like so they can use that to help them, navigate through their life challenges.
Well, Len, I appreciate you taking some time for us today. It'll probably take me 3 or 4 times of watching this back to actually absorb all the things that you've said. It's a lot smarter than some of the conversations we have on our show, but I've really appreciated it, Len. Go ahead and plug the website and everything one more time, and anything else that you need to.
Yeah, I mean, our website is EndoDNA, ENDODNA.com. I'm on all the social platforms, Len May. I think on Instagram, Len May DNA. I have a book. It's called Making Cannabis Personal. Put up here. You can get it on Amazon. So it talks about, a lot of these stories and people that can't see me. There's pictures of me with hair in here. So if you want to see that, it's pretty cool. And then I have my own podcast. It's called Everything is Personal. You can get that wherever you get podcasts.
Fantastic. Well, I'll need a copy of that book to put on our beautiful display here behind me and add it to the Scene Project's book club list. And Len, thank you so much for coming in and giving me a quick education on the company. And I'm thrilled to know you. And I look forward to hopefully having my own tests run and finding out a little bit more and why I've had this love affair with this plant for, 20 some odd years now.
Let's do it, brother. I'll give you a test kit and I'll go over your results with you. You can do another show if you want.
Yeah, well, that would be cool to kind of show the whole process for people too and to come on and do it live. So I love that idea. And Len, I really appreciate you being a part of the scene.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it as well.